So there's a team with a decision about what to do at starting quarterback Saturday. What do you think Utah's going to do?
I don't know. That's a good question. I've got a ton of respect and for Cam Rising. I think he's an amazing competitor, and we've played against him before. He's been one of the top quarterbacks, not only in this league, but in the country for a long time. So I'm sure Kyle is always making his decisions based on the health and safety. Nate Johnson played really well in the last couple of weeks. But, I think you got to prepare for all three of them.
If Cam is able to go, do you think his experience will help him kind of shake off the rust a little bit faster?
I think he's an unbelievable competitor and a great football player. So I think if they declare him ready to go, then we expect the full version of Cam Rising.
What about, you mentioned it briefly, but the other options you have at quarterback, can you talk a little bit more about what you've seen out of him?
Nate's maybe one of the fastest quarterbacks in the country. He was a 100-meter guy here in the state of California, really active. He's but he can throw the ball really well too, so he can beat you with his arms and his legs. They got a little bit more of a run package, I think, with him than they probably would have with Cam. But you got to prepare for it all because they've all played recently for him. So you got to really look at all three quarterbacks that have participated for them.
How do you divide the time in preparation for those two guys? Do you do 50-50?
Well, it's similar because Cam was lethal with his legs also. So I think Cam was a real true dual threat also. So it's not like Cam is Tom Brady and Nate is Lamar Jackson. I think they run a similar offense, and it's really preparing for Andy Ludwig and what he does, and Andy does a great job with that offense. So there's probably a little bit more quarterback-driven run when Nate's in there, but that doesn't mean Cam can't. So Cam's beating a lot of teams with his legs too. So I think their offense is their offense. You got to prepare for it all.
How much do you prepare for? I mean, they've got a bunch of injured guys. How much are you paying attention to injury reports this week from them?
We're preparing for Utah, so they're all really good players. So if one guy's down, it's not like there's a huge drop-off. So, Kyle's been there for a long time. Their defense is what their defense is. Their offense is what their offense is, and that's what we're preparing for.
With your situation, whoever starts at quarterback, do you think they'll want them to play the whole game barring an injury or a blowout?
Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, you want
That's
Aaron Rodgers?
No, I'm saying Aaron Rodgers played for 4 plays. Okay. So you got to be prepared for everything. So we don't go into any game saying this is what it's going to be like because it's going to change. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago when we played this game against Utah, Alec Anderson was our starting tackle all week long, and then they got cleared out on Friday morning. So one of the reasons we don't get into who's going to start on a Monday is it happened to us. Alex practiced all week long, got hurt late in practice, I think late Wednesday, and then got ruled out on Friday morning, and we had to juggle our whole lineup. So, to go into it and say this is what we're going to do, this is where it's going to be, I just say that you look at Aaron Rodgers, he played 4 snaps, and then you better have the second guy ready, and you better be ready to go and prepare because that's what this game is all about.
2 items I wanted to ask you about from the last game. One, Jalen Davies getting the start, and then 2 was Keegan Jones on kick returns. What would you think about both of those guys?
I think Jalen did a really nice job, and I don't. Again, you guys maybe get into starters more than we get into starters. We rotated a ton of players, so I don't think I know he didn't play the most in the secondary in that game, and that's really what the deal is. Who takes the first snap of the game is really inconsequential in our minds. We have a bunch of guys that can rotate and a bunch of guys that can play, and I think that's one of the strengths of our team is our depth. Keegan's always been back deep for us. It just depends on where they kick the ball. They kicked it to the right, so Keegan returns it. If they kick it to the other side, then Colson would return it. So they kicked it to the right, and Keegan returned it. Did a nice job. We missed a block up front. Thought we could have had a little bit more on that, but we've always had confidence in Keegan.
And then with UCLA, you mentioned he was on kind of a snap count, pitch count.
He did. He played about, I think, 20 snaps, 19 snaps maybe, and did a good job for his first extended period back. He's been out for, missed all of last season. So, just to get UCLA back, adds more depth to what we do. And we'll continue to monitor him and see where he is. But he's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's physical. We're really, really excited for him. And I know how hard he's worked to return to play. So it's really cool to see UCLA's hard work pay off. So.
UCLA hasn't won at Utah since 2015. What makes that place such a tough place to play?
Well, Rice Eccles is a difficult venue. They got a great home crowd advantage. I think winning on the road in the Pac-12 is difficult anywhere. You can look at all the stats. I think everybody has a distinct home field advantage in terms of what they're doing. So it's But I think the crowd in Utah is awesome. They have great support for their football program, and they're a really good team, and they're really well coached. So, I think it's a combination of the crowd, the talent on the roster, and the coaching staff.
Is it tougher to win there at night? Some people had shown some splits showing that they had worse record at the in-day games.
Those are TBUs to me, so because we're not playing at night, so we're not looking at night stats going into this game because it's not a night game. So we don't control when we play. Television controls when we play, so they tell us when to play. We tell us when to play. So.
First of, I think, many ranked opponents in the Pac-12 this year. Is this one of the best Pac-12s you can remember?
I think from top to bottom, probably just the depth of the league is. I think there's 8 ranked right now. Arizona should be ranked. They're undefeated and playing well also. From overall depth, it's probably be tough to argue that. And we'll see how it ends up at the end of the season. But right now, there's some teams in this league that are playing really good football.
Updates on Ale and Titus?
They're unavailable. Titus will train today, but Ale's unavailable today.
You think we'll see them back this season?
No idea.
Obviously, last year's result obviously has no bearing on what's going to happen Saturday, but just defensively, with so many guys who were part of that team that was able to make a number of big plays last year against Utah, what's the, line between being confident but also not being overconfident for those guys?
I don't think overconfident comes in any conversation when you're playing Utah, so I don't think that word exists when you're playing this team. This is the defending conference champ, 2-time defending conference champ. Really talented football team. Just turned the tape on. They played 2 Power 5 teams to open the season in a win with Florida and a win at Baylor. They're as good a football team as there is in the country. And so that's our full attention, and we really haven't spent any time talking about last season. So,
any other takeaways from the game film that maybe you didn't see immediately after?
No, I'm just impressed with all of our guys that got an opportunity to play. I think we had 101 kids got an opportunity to get snaps. Our ability to play fast early and to jump out, to a lead. And I think how our players approached the week, how they trained and what they prepared for. And I think they're realizing that what they do during the week is what pays off on Saturdays, and I think they understand that. But I think the effort and the fact that we got to play so many guys was it was good for them to get on tape and to play in a college football game, because we don't have preseason games, so we don't have the dry run-throughs that you do in the NFL. So this is, for some guys, it was their first experience, and a lot of guys showed up and had fun playing football, and it was cool to see.
Is that especially good for somebody like Justin Martin, who's put in a lot of work at a very demanding position, and gets to see it pay off a little bit? For all those guys, and I think Justin's one of them who's worked extremely hard. There's a bunch of guys at various positions that you got a chance to see him and you were like, all right, that's interesting. Conley Clark is a guy that stood out a little bit, in his first extensive action. We've been impressed with him in camp, but had never get a chance to see him play in a game yet because he's a true freshman. And when he got in there, I thought we all thought he did a really nice job. So, but there's more than just those two. That I think there's a bunch of guys that capitalized on their experience, and you never know as the season goes along. You really have no idea who's going to be called upon, who's going to be who's going to have to step up. And so the fact that they've got some reps is a positive for us. Have you ever changed a rotation based on play in a game like that? Some guy coming in and making an impression and then earning a spot based on that?
I don't know if they earned a spot, but they may earn more playing time in rotation, yeah. Just because they, again, it's got to be based on live work where you get to see it. Sometimes you're predicting it or hoping what you see in practice translates, but when you see kids produce in games like that, then obviously the better they produce in games, the more they're going to play in games.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thanks.